We're live, everybody.
Hello, and welcome to the Expletives Included generic podcast with much less nutritional value than other big name brand podcasts. Today we've got myself, Daniel, and we've also got Kier.
Who is also here.
Don't talk over me, Kier.
I will talk over whoever I want.
I think I fall under that bracket, so go ahead.
I feel like we're doing a bit too much like Bottom at the minute.
I never really watched Bottom, which I know is probably sacrilege being British and all, but you know.
I always preferred the young ones myself.
Again, I've watched a lot more young ones than I did Bottom, but...
Well, I kind of grew up on the young ones. It was like that and Python. Anyway.
We talk about what I grew up on.
Cardcaptor Sakura?
And Sailor Moon. Not so much Sailor Moon, because it was on at awkward times. I would always try to see it. But, and Winx Club.
Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about that one. Sounded awful.
I rewatched it. Like, the first season wasn't awful. It doesn't really get awful until you get to, like, season 2.
Until season 1, episode 2.
No, because season 1 was kind of decent, and then season 2 was just, I don't know. And I think we're like season 6 or season 7 now. It's just, oh my god.
And you're still watching it?
No, I tried to watch season 2, but I just gave up. And I just kind of like watched the first episode of like later seasons, and I just, no.
Yeah.
It was a troll. It was a troll. It was a
trial?
I don't think that's the word I was going for, but it fits. It was a trial.
Yeah. There was a lot of bad TV back then. Just as there is now.
Yeah. Like I said, like Winx Club, the most recent season is actually coming out at the moment. Recently.
Well, you have to remember, Fail Your Parents and SpongeBob are still going.
And SpongeBob is awful.
Well, I've watched worse shows.
I've just been I've been more divisive to our audience. Well, not to our audience. I've been more divisive to the internet than any feminist could ever possibly be. Any feminist or MRA. I've insulted SpongeBob. And that's just crossing a line.
Yeah. For some reason, he's sacred.
He is sacred. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a cult.
Well, ponies do.
I have a cult that I could join.
Yeah, they worship Celestia and Luna. But I guess the other two princesses somehow.
Cadence and spoilers. Princess.
Oh, come on. That was spoiled years ago.
I know. Everyone's seen the toys.
Yeah.
Please forgive me, Princess Celestia. Princess Hasbro.
Hell, I have a Princess Twilight toy around here.
Oh yeah, the stitching of my Fluttershy is coming undone.
Really? Yeah. Too much hugs?
Maybe. It's like 2 years old now, isn't it? It was like a birthday present 2 years ago. Was it just 1 year? I think it was 2 years ago.
No, it must be longer than that because you had it before I went to Brighton.
3 years ago?
Maybe.
It's lasted. Yeah, it hasn't.
You know, I would tell you that's over 24 years old, so.
I'm not sure. In fact, I'm not even sure where it is. I had a teddy that I was given as a christening present, so that would be... Okay, how old am I?
You're 24.
So that would be about 24 years old.
Yeah, the same with my one. Well, it wasn't christening because, you know.
You weren't christened?
No.
Well, you're going straight to hell.
Hey, my family was just like, look, there's not even any point. You know,
I don't think that like Judaism even. Well, I remember hearing a story about a kind of Jewish guy. He's not really that Jewish, but he kind of heard stories about hell and brimstone and fire and got really scared. And like went home to his dad and it's like, Dad, I just heard about hell. And Satan was like, oh, no. We're Jewish. We don't have a hell.
It's like the other way around.
Oh, okay.
No,
Something like that.
Jews don't have a heaven. You know, it's a difficult philosophy, but you know, well, the best way I can describe of the Jewish rabbinical thought is this, one of my favorite stories. Just one of my favorite religious stories. Two rabbis are debating the fundamental nature of good. And they're arguing and arguing for days and days, both bitterly arguing their point. And then God comes down and goes, no, this is how it is, guys. And they both turn to him and go, get out of here. God has no place in this argument. And that explains Judaism.
So yes, I should be coming to you now in glorious almost HD.
Yes, a full 720.
Of course, but yes, because I believe, Keir, you have stated that anything less than 1080 isn't really HD.
Maybe, but I've stated many things.
This is true. Because my webcam does say that it's HT. HT? HD. D, not T. Yeah. Glorious HD, although in 720p.
Well, you know, all HD stands for is higher definition.
I thought it was high definition.
No,
Which is still rather vague, I'd imagine.
Yeah. So it's sort of, well, it looks prettier than that other one.
High definition in comparison to this.
Yeah. You know, it's higher than a 144p camera.
Yeah.
Which is probably what you were using before.
I have no idea.
That's the lowest one you can get on the market.
Maybe. So I'm using my HD camera. I'm using my new laptop, which I got today. And I managed to set up all by myself. And it's totally not a pickup from Keir, who did everything.
Who had to fight for several days to get it to work.
Thank you, Keir.
There was a known issue with the laptop that they weren't saying on the site, but I managed to fix it because I'm awesome.
Oh, well, what's this known issue?
Basically, driver incompatibility with your wireless card, which luckily was fixable, but only on the very latest version of Windows 10.
That's a bit shitty.
Yeah.
Ooh, the reviews like stellar.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise it's fine. It's literally just this one driver incompatibility that is now fixed.
Awesome.
The process in which I fixed the laptop, because when Dan bought it, it was Linux. I installed a legitimate copy of Windows 7. Yes, it was legitimate. That's my Christmas present to Dan. A legitimate operating system. And then had to get that to upgrade to Windows 10 without any internet capability.
How is that possible?
It took a long time.
And, well, I'm coming from glorious England, and Keir, you're coming from glorious Wales.
There's nothing glorious about Wales.
There's nothing really glorious about England. But that's why we're both wearing dressing gowns, because it's winter now. We're January, and it's very cold.
No, this is just mine feeling bad dressing gown.
This is my it's cold dressing gown.
Yeah. You see, I have a desktop, so it warms the whole house.
If I had my laptop on my lap, well, I don't know. My old one would have warmed me up.
This new one.
Burnt my flesh. This new one I'm sure on, and because I need to kind of keep the camera at arm's length.
You can't type? Can't you type?
But I couldn't have it on my lap because otherwise, like, my face would be like take up all of the face.
Or you'd be really undershot.
Yeah.
And you know, no one wants to see the turkey neck.
I'm not self-conscious about that. So anyway, as I was saying, I feel very comfortable like this, and I think I should do the rest of the show.
What you need is high neck tactical turtlenecks.
I did actually want a turtleneck. I can't remember who it was, but I was like discussing it with one of my friends. Actually, because if I remember correctly, it was like this one female friend I have who I work with. And I was like discussing, like, you know, the prospect of getting a turtleneck because, you know, they're all very fancy and Sagan wore them and it's just
tactical.
And tactical, and I would like one. I want to know if I would look good in a turtleneck. If I did, then amazing. And then she was just like, "No, Dan, don't. Why would you eat no?" And then it was like the exasperated. Oh, I can't. I don't even want to explain to you why that would be a bad idea. You just inherently know that it is.
It's been a while. It's been a while. No.
Okay, so then a couple like days, maybe a week or so later at work, our boss at the time came in and she was wearing a turtleneck, and apparently that was fine. I'm not sure if this is a double standard between like men's turtlenecks and women's turtlenecks, or whether it was because she was our boss and we can't really say that her fashion is bad. I didn't bring it up. I probably should have.
Well, there is a difference between men's turtlenecks and women's turtlenecks. But the question comes down to, how much of a gut do you have?
I actually have no gut. In fact, I've decided I think I need to eat unhealthily because I was wearing a lab coat today because I wear random lab coats because you know, I've only been there for like 4 months. It's not enough time for them to actually buy me a lab coat with, you know, my name on it, which I kind of, you know, need to make sure that I don't spill shit all over me. So I've basically been going
literal shit at Dan's job.
Oh yes, but it's been reduced now. It's only like Wednesdays and Thursday and Friday mornings now that I have to deal with shit. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, and like basically, so I've gone through all of the names. I've had lab coats with no names. I've been Rob. I've been Lucy. I've been Dave. You know, any lab coat.
A good Lucy. You make a good Lucy.
Thank you. And basically, like the one that they are buying me one now because basically we've got a new manager in and she needs a lab coat as well. So bulk order, of course. Don't do it for the plebeian workforce, but you know, as soon as someone important comes along, then get new lab coats in. And the size, because they don't actually do like tailored, they don't actually take measurements for lab coats. It's just like regular sizing. And the size which I'm going to get is the one which I can work for today. It's like a larger one, but it's kind of got, there's a problem with men's clothing where you don't have sizes like in the same way that women's clothing does. You have well, you have small, medium, large, extra large, extra large, and it kind of goes small, and then a bit taller you go for medium, a bit taller you go for large. Then if you're a bit taller, then you're fucked because any sizing with an L doesn't assume you're getting doesn't assume you're getting taller. It assumes you're getting wider. So being lanky bastards, we can appreciate that being this tall, needing an extra large for the length, basically leaves us looking like we're skeletal in frame. And I was just like wearing this lab coat after wearing like this woman's lab coat, which was like incredibly short in the arm, like basically to there,
Mm-hmm.
but actually having like perfect figure for my size. Going to one which has like decent length, decent arm length, but leaving me looking like I could fit two of myself in this lab coat. I was just thinking, I am incredibly thin. I need to put on weight. I can't remember where this started. I can't remember what we were talking about.
Well, in my experience, particularly with jackets, a woman's 16 fits me far better than a men's large.
We were talking about turtlenecks. You asked me if I had a gut, and then that was my very long anecdote at how I really need to try to grow a gut.
Well, basically, if you've got a flat stomach, you can pull off a turtleneck.
So I should get
When you've got a gut, you need to hide your shame with layers. But when you don't, you can be proud and just have the turtleneck on and then some classy jeans or some nice... Yeah, jeans are probably the best thing to go as a turtleneck. And then some very classy Italian shoes.
Those sound expensive.
And then all of that will hopefully distract from your face.
That's why I've got this unusual beard, to distract from the rest of my face.
Oh, I meant to distract from your unusual beard.
Oh, okay. No, because this is tribute to Lemmy. As we were discussing before, Kia thinks that I should... What were you saying I should do to tribute Bowie?
Do the lightning bolt.
Do the lightning bolt. I don't have the makeup.
I'm surprised.
Makeup's expensive.
True.
I'm perfectly content to be this ugly.
I mean, to be fair, I'm always doing a tribute to Bowie with my heterochromia.
I also heard today that he didn't actually have heterochromia.
I've been lied to my entire life.
Well, apparently he does have, like, his two eyes were different colors, but rather than having heterochromia, it was some kind of like physical trauma that he suffered while he was young, which caused the different colors.
Interesting.
I mean, that's only something which I heard today. I have no evidence. I have no proof. That's what I heard.
It's like, no, you're not a freak. David Bowie has it too.
Well, he did still have two eyes of different colors.
Yeah. And now all that's left are those special snowflakes on DeviantArt and Tumblr.
To be honest, they probably don't have heterochromia either. They just think that they're, maybe they're just furries or otherkin and think, well, dogs have heterochromia in a large proportion, so...
No, I meant they're OCs.
They're OCs. In that case, definitely.
If you're looking at someone's sort of edgy OC, they'll have heterochromia.
Fair enough.
Which could mean I'm my mother's edgy OC.
Yeah. In a sense.
So we actually have a topic today that Dan suggested.
Yes. Because we're having a bit of trouble getting our own Dungeons and Dragons campaign sorted because of lack of players, I was just kind of like thinking about role-playing online, just that kind of thing. So would we be able to kind of find someone online? Because I know that, Kay, you've done a lot of... Well, you haven't done... Well, you've found players on forums. You've run games with people that you found just on forums. And we've touched on that lightly. And I thought that, just kind of online role-playing is something that we could talk about. Because there are a lot more kind of games that facilitate that. I think there's a new Swords Coast Dungeons and Dragons game, which is kind of all around online role-playing. There's Neverwinter, that I don't think we touched upon last time. And I myself have tried unsuccessfully, although, to get into kind of forum role-playing, not kind of scouring forum for players, but kind of online role plays in the top.
So, play by post, you mean?
Play by post. Yes, that's what I mean. And I read through a few when I tried to get into it, but none of the games that I kind of tried to enlist myself in really took off the ground. But I still looked into it, and I remember kind of recently I was trying to find like a game that I could become a part of in the forum that I frequent. I don't really go onto it. It's just I'm trying to create some kind of online presence for myself there. And I was looking for a D&D campaign or some other campaign, but it's either I'm looking in the wrong place, or it does seem to all be this play-by-post format. So with all of those kind of ideas running through my mind, I thought, I think there's a lot that we didn't touch on, just like when we were talking about roleplay, that we could possibly talk about now, because we're always struggling for topics.
Are we? Are we really?
I couldn't think of anything else.
Yeah, but, our general thing is, let's ramble!
Yeah, which is what we've been doing for a long time. But we always have a premise of a topic. And seeing as I think I'm one episode behind on Steven Universe, we can't really talk about that, even though it's come back.
Yeah, that'll be next week.
That'll be next week.
Because we'll know if it's on hiatus or not again after this Thursday.
Steven Universe is back with a Steven bomb. That's like 5 episodes in 5 days. You cannot get enough of this. Oh, you've got enough of this. We're not doing any more for like another year.
Yeah, it was suggested that there are going to be 2 episodes a week. But that's not happening.
How it started, because they're like only 10-minute episodes.
Well, no, like one on Tuesday, one on Thursday.
Remember the days when cartoons were 20 minutes long?
Petridge Farm remembers.
Okay, so who shall we have beginning with?
Well, let's start with, because we do play online regularly. Well, semi-regularly.
We use Roll20 for our Pathfinder campaign. I wasn't really going to bring this up. We can talk about it, but this is like a group that we kind of know from our actual lives. It's not.
Yes, we know these people in meat space.
In meat space, is that
MEAT space?
That's I'm not going to say anything about that.
What? It's
other than
we know in meat space, but we play in cyberspace.
Have you seen my new handlebar mustache? It apparently says a lot about my character. If we're talking about meat space.
Yes, it does.
Shut up, kid.
It says you like country and western, but you don't know any other singers.
That's true, actually.
Anyway, we know each other in real life. But
we've been flung to the 4 corners of Great Britain.
And now we play online using this service Roll20, which is, well, it's a website where you can, gives you basically a gaming board. You can use hex or square grids. You can add miniatures, lighting effects, dungeons, sound. There's loads of stuff. And it's a pretty decent application.
And it's got its own kind of inbuilt Skype type thing, inbuilt communication, like webcam, microphone.
Isn't very good, but
it does the job. And also all of these lighting effects and miniatures and stuff. I think if you don't pay for it, then you get a kind of quite a restricted a palette, as it were. You can still
buy the miniatures and such, and then there's like an account upgrade to unlock like specialist things, like the lighting and such. But a lot of it is, but you can supply your own artwork if you want. So miniatures, maps, and that kind of thing. And all of the music comes from SoundCloud. And actually, sort of to connect to your initial question, it has a community who specifically around finding players and GMs for games.
I've never looked into this community.
I've only vaguely looked into it. When I looked at it, this was a couple of years ago, they didn't have a very good vetting system. But I think now you can leave reviews on players and GMs.
Mm-hmm.
And generally sort of you know a bit more what you're getting into.
So that's quite interesting.
I mean, I wouldn't want to do that for the channel game because I have certain technical requirements for the players.
And, well, we do kind of want like a certain amount of reliability with our players, which we might not. Well, it's impossible to know with someone who you meet online.
Though in my experience, actually, that's the most regular and reliable gaming's ever been for me.
Well, rather kind of involved me and Ben.
And Laurie.
And Laurie.
And me.
You're on, like, this online player thing it was involving you as well.
Yes, but in that instance, it's sort of group pressure. So I'll sort of explain the first time I really got involved in online role-playing. Now, this was before Roll20 came out. In fact, yeah, this was before Roll20, and it was actually at the end of the campaign that we were considering moving to Roll20 because it had just been released as a website. Because I didn't even know Laurie at this point. Now, many, many moons ago, I was living in London, which is a horrible place. And I was very lonely because I had no friends. So one of the things I would do a lot of the time is watch one of the very early live streamers, a guy by the name of Lord Cat. And, you know, he's a bit of an asshole, but he was someone to watch and we'd be talking in the room. Yeah, like, and so I sort of was...
He had like 24-hour stream.
Yeah.
So he was essentially the Truman Show.
Kind of. Kind of. And there was a very vibrant chat community. So, and one of the things he did on his channel was he got other people involved from the That Guy with the Glasses community of reviewers to join him in D&D games. So you had Angry Joe, Spoonie, Linkara, all manner of people. So I know Linkara's gotten married.
Say what? No, he. No. I don't really know anything about his personal life anymore.
Well, he's gotten engaged at the very least. To another reviewer again.
Well, that's like the community that he's in.
Yeah. So anyway, so there was a chat community alongside Lord Cat's stream, and he would sort of, as streamers do, talk to them and interact and all kinds of stuff. And I sort of got involved in that. And it's actually where my latest username has come from. So one of the things that started happening was people were like, hey, I want to play D&D 2, but I've got no one to play with. So this would pop up and again. And then it was like, Spoonie said, well, actually, I've got a section on my forum for this. So sign up over there and find someone to play with. So and there was a lot of discussion, different games people wanted to play. So I saw this regular thing coming up of people wanting someone to GM a World of Darkness game. Now, I have a fair amount of experience with World of Darkness. I've already explained my Mistborn setting and such. So I was like, I'm bored, I'll do this. Went over to Spoonie's forum. It was like a bunch of people. Oh, well, yeah, sure, I'll do this. You guys in America? That's fine. Whatever. And so we hooked up on Skype. And how many people were there? Quite a big group, to be honest, especially for World of Darkness. There was 7, maybe 8 people.
That's a hefty number.
Especially for World of Darkness. World of Darkness is like a 3 group, mainly. at most. But, I just didn't want to turn people away. Because it kind of seemed like these guys were friends already. I don't know, they vaguely knew each other online. And these guys were scattered all across the US, from coast to coast. And, they were a good bunch of people. The biggest problem they actually had was with my accent.
They found it a bit hard to kind of just understand you.
Yeah, there was actually some... It was interesting to see the difference in idiom. So there was one of the first games. Who was it? I think it was Cat. Because we had 2 girls in the group and 4 or 5 guys. 5 guys, yeah. And then it briefly went up by 1. So everyone sort of made these characters. I've kind of worked with people. I've been watching a lot of... there's some YouTubers who talked about various gaming stuff, and I was quite influenced by them. So I sort of worked with their characters and sort of explored the various things. So I had the group go at one point into this... what I had the group doing at one point was they had to go to a gentleman's club. Now, to me, a gentleman's club is something like the Royal Society of Scientists or whatever. So, it's like, okay, so you have to go to this gentleman's club. Guess what they all thought it was?
A strip club?
Yeah. So I was like describing this club, and it was like, well, it's all oak panelled and marble floors, big sweeping staircase, and they're like, wow, this is a really nice club. Where are the poles? What do you mean, guys? And one of the players was like, oh, there are going to be strippers here. That was the whole reason his character went along.
So otherwise he just wouldn't have come to the gentleman's club.
Yeah. He wouldn't have behaved otherwise. He was that kind of player. And I wasn't very good at handling inter-party politics. I suppose intra-party politics. Anyway, so this game ran for the better part of 6 months. Really long, full campaign, and we played at least once a week, sometimes more. And it was I think I ended the campaign really well. One of the players was like, okay, I don't want to do another one, but I've really enjoyed what I've done thus far. And I gave him a big heroic moment. The campaign ended. Basically, there was this problem where in the city, various major vampire clan members were disappearing. And it turned out it was all to do with a demon summoning ritual. And that was the final boss fight. Big fire demon. That's the thing I've done throughout the game that far, as far as fucking with them with fire. Because
if they were vampires, would have, majorly up to them.
Yeah, literally, at one point in the gentleman's club, which wasn't a strip joint, there were some high-ranking vampires there, and their way of showing off to the players was there was a big roaring fire in the fireplace. This is game 1, by the way. So one of the players, Grace was her name. She was an awesome player. And yeah, she lived in... Yeah. So what her character does is... she also playing in Malkavian.
We should probably explain for anyone who's not familiar with World of Darkness. If a vampire ever actually sees fire, they need to make a roll to not panic.
Yeah.
It's like the same in Dungeons and Dragons. If you see a dragon, then you have to, make a roll to not piss yourself and run away. That's exactly the same thing.
Yeah. And it starts off at candle flame size. That's the first level of difficulty. And that's still hard to beat sometimes. This is a huge roaring fire. Now I thought this will look great for the players. These two old vampires reading in front of this roaring fire, it'll really intimidate them.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting anyone to fail the roll, and she was the only one who did. She literally jumps out the window. She picked up an armchair with one of the vampires in it, out the window. And there was a lot of breaking of windows in my game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, admittedly, towards the later part of the game, I'd really figured out what made these guys laugh, and that I think that's one of my biggest problems as a DM, is I love making people laugh in a game.
Mm.
That and I can't organize it for shit. So I tried, but I let shit slide. Like one of the players, David, he decided to get on my good side because I was really into My Little Pony at the time. So what he did was he turned his character into a flying pony because he had the power. And I was like, well, the rules don't say you can't do it, so now the party's got this pony with them.
Oh my god.
He did it for several games as well.
As long as he roleplayed it well, I guess. That's,
He kind of did. He was like a pony who had like an AK strapped to him, and it was just... He even fed as a pony. Because one of the things I always did in Vampire was that I felt you have to do feeding scenes at least once with each character, just to really create a sort of sense of that vampiric hunger, because I felt that was important. But yeah, that was a really fun campaign, and really did the most for Mistborn, which I think any DM who has like a home world will always tell you that they love players fucking with the world. So like our friend Laurie, how long's he been doing Laurel now for?
I'm not sure how long he's been doing Laurel, but I think I remember maybe like a year or so ago he was saying that he'd been DMing for about as long as Ben had been alive, because it was like his "oh my god, I'm so old" moment. So close to 2 decades, maybe over a decade.
Yeah, I think he started when he was like 13 or something.
Hmm.
But I remember him saying that the campaign that because the first campaign we did with Laurie, was called The Lone Hill, and this was the third attempt over a decade.
Wasn't it well, it was possibly the fourth even.
Quite possibly. And none of these were particularly short campaigns either. So, yeah, as a DM, that's the thing I love, is sort of like player rubble within the world. So, what have your sort of interactions with...
I was going to interview you a bit on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, we'll just ask a few questions at least. Have you... This is like the only kind of big game that you've done like through forums, kind of found people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from your have you like looked around forums like before or since to try and find out just like how these kind of games go? I mean, do you consider this to be kind of an unusual kind of event where you've had basically it's your first go and it's gone really well?
I think the reason it went really well was you had a group of people who really wanted to roleplay and couldn't otherwise. This was their only access to roleplaying, and that's why we all tried so hard at this. Yeah, that's why we were all willing to sort of bend over backwards for each other's schedules. You know, each of these games were a good 4 hours, sometimes up to 6 hours. Normally starting for me at midnight, 1 in the morning.
So I would imagine that like actually getting like a 6-month campaign with like 8 players all regularly gaming, it sounds like an unusual situation. It sounds like something you were kind of very lucky to get.
Oh yeah, I count it as one of the best campaigns I've ever been involved with. Sort of not particularly as a GM, I want to do a lot of things differently now, but just sort of the energy we all had for playing was so great. And I definitely feel like with our games, we've never really had that as much. Not sort of a slight on us, but it's sort of, there's always been sort of the option to do something else, if that makes sense. But this was my only contact with these guys.
Because I imagine that for a lot of people, if they have kind of done this kind of meeting people by forum, kind of role-playing online, that it's, well, I guess kind of like with our games, it would be kind of very easy to fall apart, like very easy to just do kind of one game and then find it incredibly hard to wrangle other people or wrangle people into kind of continuing on. And like my initial kind of idea would be that it would be harder to do it if it's purely online than like if you know someone in Meat Space. Whereas it seems like possibly if your game is not the exception to the rule, then it seems to be like it could be easier to do it purely online.
I think it depends on social pressures. Sort of to take an example of something that happened to us recently. Recently, we got involved, the four of us, our regular gaming group, and we put together a little audio thing. It'll be online at some point. We did that over the course of, 3 days to a week? The vast majority of it was done in the first 2 days. And we all worked, not particularly hard, but we all were really energetic and involved. And I think the difference with role-playing games with us, perhaps a lot of sort of friend groups, is there's a big tendency to always move on to the next thing because everyone wants to push forward their ideas. So I know my view from I have with all my projects is I get really excited about the next idea. So it's sort of always, well, what's the next campaign going to be? But when you're dealing with people online, there isn't really that impetus for the next thing. It sort of becomes a designated thing in a way that it isn't in such a close friendship group. So what, like we used to play a lot of board games. The ones that we played a lot were ones that that were just one-offs. Like we never really got into the big campaign ones.
But well, I don't know, I think there could be plenty of reasons why we didn't get into those big ones. But
the tome-like rule books. You know, that's the one thing I don't like about role-playing games is there's too many rules. In fact, I was working on a system for really easy role-playing. But
on the Anime League forums, at least, the play-by-post roleplayers don't seem to have any rules at all, and I think that's to their detriment.
Oh yeah. There's a difference between no rules and some rules. And admittedly, my experience with play-by-post is very different from yours. I know a little about the history of the internet, and play-by-post has existed since the BBS days. But I first encountered it on fetish forums. So it is a different kind of play.
Yes.
And the thing with those is, even when it's people trying to get their spank on, in both senses of the word, they're really just sort of doing it for a few minutes at a time. You know, it's something you maybe check once a day. So you can't really get a continuous thing going. So they have to be very loose, very informal, and whoever's running it has to be really good if they want to do a good play-by-post. And I've heard there's been some very good ones. But there's not the immediacy, and thus it's a bit more fragmented and a lot looser.
I don't know. I think I found that as well. Or at least I guess that's kind of one of the trepidations that I had. One of the kind of things which kind of made me think that maybe I don't want to get into play by post, because it didn't seem like there was like, this is like the time that we're going to be gaming from. This is the day. It was just kind of you write a post. And then if you like take a long while, then maybe like one or two other people have written a post and like the story's moved on, and then you post your thing, and it's already kind of moved on from that point, which I suppose is quite unlikely, but
depends on the speed of the board, really.
Depends on the speed of the board, and also you can like say that the DM, the person who's like in control of the world, might be absent for a couple of days. At which point you just have the players, which I suppose, depending on the players, that might not be a bad thing. But
most players, it's going to be the lunatics running the asylum.
They can do whatever they want. Yeah. And I think it has been a while since I've looked into it, but I remember, I'm not sure if is it a term like God modding? Is that like a play-by-post term, or is that like a term for something else?
I've heard the term in a few contexts.
Because, again, like if there's no rules, and there are like these people who will just say it's like, oh well, I'm perfect at everything. I'm the greatest swordsman in the land, and like if you want to say that in Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, whatever, that you're the greatest swordsman in the land, then you're probably not. You can have the bravado. You can kind of say you can be very good with the sword, but you're still limited by kind of your level, by your experience, by how long you've played, by your build. You in a play by post, you can say I'm the greatest swordsman in the world, and as long as you kind of stick by that, then hey, you're the greatest swordsman in the world. And then so like unless like the person running the game like explicitly says that you can kind of do this shit, there's not really anything that they can say against it. And then what happens when you get like another player on the post saying like, well actually no, you can't be the greatest swordsman in the world because I'm the greatest swordsman in the world, and we settle this in a duel to the death. It doesn't need to be to the death, just like we'll settle this in a duel. There are no rules for divining who's going to win that fight. You could just like, and it's something which I did see. And thankfully it wasn't player versus player. Actually, I think there were kind of rules about PvP combat that's kind of spoken about before like any game has begun, but it was just this person who was like, what I saw was this person having a fight with an orc or something, like a much larger foe, and just kind of like, I think it was a she. The character was a she. Whether the player was or not, I can't remember. But she basically beat this orc just in like a pub brawl, and they just kind of wrote it out as the story. So they just kind of, rather than having any kind of fear that they might lose, so you know what's going to happen. You can't. There's no chance. There's no. It's like everyone's the DM to a certain extent.
I mean, to be honest, this probably is just bad play-by-posting we've seen. Because if I were to say run a play-by-post game, I would still use standard D&D rules or Pathfinder rules. It would simply be up to the player to describe what happens on their roll. You know. Just at the start of the post or wherever in it, list your like 1d20 plus blah de blah de blah equals X.
There was one that I tried to join that was going to have like 5th edition rules, Um, I think like the story idea was that you had basically you were like human world, but you had been kind of plucked through like a dimensional portal somehow, and you were kind of transformed into like a fantasy race. So if you wanted, you could have been transformed into an elf, you could have been transformed into like anything, or you could have stayed a human if that's kind of what you wished. And you would have like gained these skills of like a first level fighter or a first level wizard, and it would be, I think it was basically a goddess had essentially abducted you from your world, and I think I can't remember exactly, but it was like either you had to then try to find your way home, or you had to fulfill this kind of divine destiny that this god had placed upon you. At which point you'd be able to go home. That it didn't get off the ground. It didn't really have a lot of support. It didn't really have like a lot of people interested in it. And I think like the other people who were interested in it were just kind of put off, or kind of, I think there was like maybe there was the DM and then maybe like 2 or 3 other people. And I think I was the only one who actually managed to get like a character sheet together.
Really?
That
sucks.
Just because it from like my experience, it seems like that's a kind of an alien concept to the people who do play by post.
Well, you know, we have Roll20 now. We have Skype now.
Yes.
And, you know, you're on an anime forum. Why aren't you playing anime games?
Because, okay, picture the scene.
I'm serious. There are anime roleplay games.
No, you're a regular guy. I'm a regular guy. We like anime. A normal amount. We kind of watch it now and then.
I can't raise my eyebrows any further. You only like it a regular amount?
I like it a lot. I'm a big fan. I go to conventions. It's one of my favorite forms of art. And if you kind of want to tell me that I should be playing an anime RPG on an anime forum with anime fans, and you think that I wouldn't be terrified by that prospect, then what is wrong with you, Keir? I do not want to be playing in a Naruto RPG with anime fans.
Are you honestly saying you wouldn't play a game where you're part of a magical girl squad?
That's different.
Is it really?
I don't think I've seen any like magical girl squad RPGs. It does seem to be mostly stuff like Naruto and Bleach and that kind of thing.
No, I know of a particular system. Big Eyes Little Mouth. It's the GURPS of anime RPGs. It's a base system with lots of settings.
Oh yeah, but then that's still again, I might be able to like find people into that, but like for the actual board, the actual forum that they've set aside for role playing, it is just kind of like this free form post by play. And I think I might just need to kind of like look elsewhere. So maybe they're in like the general forums, it will have like a role playing, like pen and paper role playing.
I'd honestly suggest looking on the Roll20 forums.
Yeah.
Or 4chan has a traditional games board, which has a lot of very funny D&D talk, well, general role-playing talk, and they have hookup threads all the time. The nerd equivalent of dating.
You suggested I look at these hookup threads before. They're a scary place.
That was on B.
Wasn't it on SOC? Social? Is that what?
Oh, yeah, social, yeah.
Yeah.
Sock.
I do like socks. Nothing to do with SOC, though. Nothing to do with...
You and your knee-high sock fetish, honestly.
I know, I don't understand it. It's probably something to do with like the goth girl early TV.
I'll be honest, knee-high socks aren't actually that comfortable.
Really?
Yeah. I find they chafe my knees.
Oh. Maybe. I buy thigh-high socks, but they never go over the knee. I buy like thigh-high and over-the-knee socks, but they only kind of just go above my, just under the knee.
Yeah.
And quite comfy.
No, over the knee, they're quite. But I have very knobbly knees. I am all bone and like a gutted flab.
I remember like when I did first buy them, I did always try to kind of stretch them so they would go over the knee. They would just keep kind of sticking them down. So, like just under the knee, I think is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And then you don't kind of have like the whole knee problem and the chafing problem. You just have like very long socks that hug your entire lower leg.
Doesn't Michael McIntyre have a very similar routine to this?
I don't know. I think there's a Welsh comedian.
Oh yeah, I know. I was thinking the wrong guy. Oh, who is it? Rob Brand. Rob Brydon, sorry.
Right. Yes, that sounds right. I'm not sure if he has like a whole schedule on it, but I remember he was on QI.
Yeah, that's the bit I'm thinking of.
He was like, now my socks are a lot longer than you think they would be. He just kind of gets his leg up and he's just like, and then he's like, now tell me when you think it's going to stop, and he just kind of keeps pulling his trousers back.
He's a very funny man.
He is. I guess as we so it seems like there's. I think you're kind of quite right in your assertion that it is the lunatics running the asylum in Play by Post, which is hard to say over and over again, and it's just it does feel like there aren't like that many rules, and people do kind of like switch on this kind of god mode. They kind of like. So I think like when you say like when you kind of create characters, like what you like to do, you always kind of like to have a floor and you like to kind of build off that. And when I kind of make characters, I don't try to do that, but I think that like just because of maybe through mechanics, through myself, through gameplay, flaws do arise, and I do think that kind of well, just like in a purely technical, mechanical sense, like my character, the Bard Balthier, I put like all of my stats. I put all of my stats into the mental stats, but I kind of really wanted him to be a very physical character. So he was like, "Yes, I am the greatest swordsman in the land," but he was weak as balls, so he was bad in combat.
That's more building him bad than character design, Dan. Be truthful.
Yeah, still, that's not something which I thought that, you know, having a high dexterity and having a high intelligence would make up for having a low strength, because you do kind of like have like ways around that. Like you have the feat weapon finesse, so that you don't use your strength for the attack roll. There are weapons that I thought, you know, I'll just. I assumed that we were going to have like a higher concentration of magic weapons, so I thought. You can have, it's not a keen, it's I think it's an agile weapon, which, again, you add your dexterity modifier to the damage rather than your strength, which would have kind of boosted it a lot. So I thought, yeah, there are plenty of ways of getting around this.
And then it turned out the entire valley had already been looted!
Yes. So, because of, like, mechanics, because of, like, how I built it, because I did it poorly, because whatever reason, like natural flaws appeared in the character. Whereas if you have no kind of random chance to your attributes, if you have a DM who has like an incredibly hands-off approach to kind of dealing with players, if you have players who kind of even if you have like a couple of players who do kind of exert that kind of self-control as to not kind of make themselves into gods among men, then chances are that in any given play-by-post, you will have like one or two people who are like that, who will kind of, well, I could imagine like playing like a regular character in a game where so it's like, oh yes, I'm not an excellent fighter, but I do my part. I'm a soldier in the army, and I like to I like to face people one-on-one, and then the DM kind of creates a scenario where you're fighting like an army of or like a large amount of, say, orcs or other humans, like a rival tribe, and then you kind of like say, it's like, okay, so I find one. Actually, I'm quite arrogant. I want to find like the guy who's in charge, and I want to challenge him to a one-on-one fight. I want it to be me against him, mano a mano. And then you can have like another guy who's like, right, I'm a magic user, so I'm going to try to kind of do some kind of crowd control. I'm going to try and use like big area effect spells. I want to kind of do like I want to sow chaos. I want to deal like a large amount of damage. And then you have this third guy who says, oh, well, I can stop time, and I'm also a master of the katana. So I'll stop time, slice everyone's heads off, and then we'll have won, and it'll be great, and it'll be fun. Isn't everyone having a great time?
It's the power fantasy taken way, way too far. Another thing, as a DM, that would really piss me off is, let's say you were running a really good play-by-post thread. People would pop in all the time. Say, hey, I want to join. Here's my character.
On Anime League, they have like the roleplay forum, and then there's like a sub forum called Outskirts, which is an out of character forum. So if you kind of want to join a game that's already ongoing, then you have to kind of like find the corresponding out of character thread, post in there, talk to people, and like say, can I join this game? So you don't just have people popping in and out. That's kind of very bad.
That sounds more civilized.
It is. It's decent. It's a good way of doing it. But I can see like if that does happen in other forums, that how annoying that could be. But also going back to the D&D game that I'm doing like in Shrewsbury, with which I talked about, which I complained about a few times. There was like the one character. I'm not sure if I brought this part up, but he kind of it seemed like a kind of a usual thing in their games where he kind of killed someone, and then he would describe the kill, and he would explain what happened and like what he did. So I think it was like it's been a while now, but it was just like, so I'll do this, and then this will happen, and then this will happen. So it's like, I can't remember it very well. So I'll just kind of use something which would be analogous. So it's like, I'll kill the drow matron, and just kind of with my dagger, I'll slice her head off, and hold it up to the other drow, and they'll all be kind of frightened, or they'll all kind of be wary about approaching me. And I kind of found that very unusual. That's not what he said, but I found it unusual that he was kind of dictating what was happening within the game. He was dictating like what was happening with the world, and I think I have like seen that happen kind of like in a few posts in these play-by-posts, and it's like, as the player, you interact with the world. You do things as your character, and then you see how the world reacts, and you see that by what the DM says about the world. Having a character who interacts with the world and then tells the DM how the world reacts, for some reason, that just seems very unusual to me. And I have seen that in play-by-post, and it's just kind of like a disconnect that I found in like my play style and kind of online style.
It really depends on the group and the DM. As a DM, I prefer to describe the kill, because in my experience, players will overdo it.
Yes.
As your example says, he cuts off the head of the drow matron and holds it up to intimidate the others.
I can't remember. I'm fairly sure that he did say that he cut off the head of the drow matron with a dagger.
Well, first of all, that ain't happening, bud.
Yeah.
Second of all, I'd make that a thing you do on your next turn. Maybe as a move or free action, but still something you do next turn. You have to stoop to pick up the head and hold it up and go, "Rah, look at me, I'm scary mans." It's, but that's just a difference in style, really. But it also sort of depends how competent your DM is, because a lot of times, from what I've read and seen in other games, DMs will just go, "Okay, and you hit and kill them. On to the next person." Whereas as a player, you want that visceral thing of, and then you stab your sword into their gut and he's clutching at it, but you pull it out and then there's entrails and I don't know, I'm not on top form for that.
Take Skyrim, for example. It's perfectly fine to just kind of like hit and kill an enemy, but sometimes if it's like the last one, or like if it's a special occasion, sometimes you want that kill cam. Sometimes you want that slow motion and that extra kind of oomph to kind of really cement the kill.
Yeah, I mean, you don't do it for every kobold, unless the kobold's name's Bob.
Although I think, I'm not sure, I haven't killed many dragons, but I think it always goes into this kind of, I think I remember like when I first played it, like the original Skyrim, sometimes you would just kill a dragon and that'll be it. You just kind of land the killing blow and then boom, it's dead. But I think
depends on your settings. Depends on your settings. You can set it to have kill cam on every kill.
I think I've always just had it in the default. Did you play it on PC?
Yeah, on PC.
Might have been like a PC thing because I'm not sure. Yeah,
it's been a long time since I played Skyrim on PS3.
Yeah, on like the Game of the Year edition, was it Game of the Year or was it Legendary edition? I think like every time I've killed a dragon, it has gone into this it's gone into that long cutscene. I mean, it's not even like the usual kill cam. It's like a long cutscene where you kind of jump onto the dragon's head, you start kind of bashing like your sword through its skull, and it's, well, yeah, it used to be like a special thing, but it's kind of gone into this just kind of, it happens every time. There's nothing special about it. It's just what happens when you kill a dragon.
But then again, killing a dragon should be special, but it's not in Skyrim.
It's not in Skyrim, yeah.
Sorry, I was listening, but I was looking at the Looking for Group forum on Roll20. It seems there's a healthy community there. Mainly D&D, though. But I'm a weirdo who wants to play strange other games that aren't D&D.
Which D&D? Would it be like Third?
Pathfinder? Let's see. Actually, the first one is Paranoia, so
it's all D&D, apart from this very first example that I look at.
Paranoia, D&D 5th, any system, Ars Magica, Shadowrun, D&D, Adult Pathfinder.
Wait, say again?
Adult Pathfinder.
I think someone's bought the Book of Erotic Fantasies.
Well, that's the third.
Is that what it's called?
I think so. And then there's the Blue Book.
That wasn't actually a D&D book, though, was it? That was just like a role-playing supplement.
Yeah, but I had it for a while. I was really, yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was just like an independent thing, because it had like the blue mage, blue wizard, which would really upset me because in my mind, a blue mage is a Final Fantasy job class which learns the magic of monsters.
Well, there's a long and rich history of monsters being rapey and such. There's a disgusting amount of orc porn. Anyway.
I'm not sure if... I think that would have... Well... I'm not sure if the camera would have stayed on you, but I think that the way, I was just like, yeah, and then just the kind of face drops. Just like...
Orc porn.
Orc porn, yeah.
So, another general, 5th edition, Savage World, 5th edition.
So 5th edition seems to be quite popular at the moment with this online.
Yeah. I think Pathfinder, Star Wars, Pathfinder.
Imagine maybe Star Wars would be seeing a bit of a resurgence with the whole new film out.
That, neither of us have watched. General, G.I. Joe RPG,
Well,
Fifth Edition, Fifth Edition, General, Discussion Thread, Superhero, D&D, Fallout MLP Homebrew.
I did show you the. Okay, anyone watching this, go find Jello Apocalypse. Welcome to fanfic.net.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's welcome to fanfic.net outtakes, because I think it was like the outtakes that had the bit which is pertaining to this Fallout MLP.
D&D, Shadowrun, XCOM Enemy Unknown, Tenra Bangsho. Tenra Bangsho, it's a samurai one.
Fair enough.
D&D 5th, World of Darkness, GURP Superheroes, D&D, Vampire Requiem, Firefly, Star Wars, I think D&D, another D&D, more D&D, Call of Cthulhu, D&D, General, Pathfinder, General.
So there does seem to be like quite a lot of. Well, if you want to kind of find an online group, then Roll20 seems to be a decent place to go to.
Yeah.
Because that won't be. I'm assuming that's not like play by post. I'm assuming those are like games that will be run on like the Roll20, map, the dice rollers, and all that noise.
And all of them have been within the last day, by the way.
Very well. So yeah, quite a lively community.
Turns out we were just being puerile with the adult Pathfinder game.
Ah, that's a shame.
They were just like, I don't want any kid players, I want to be able to swear.
Let's face it, what would sound worse? Adult Pathfinder or 18 plus Pathfinder?
That's a tough one. I mean, in fairness, I've seen a lot of sex modifications to RPGs. I don't know why everyone wants to do it. But I can tell you, there are very, very detailed bondage rules for Pathfinder.
And they took out the rope use skill and everything.
Yeah. So,
I think there was something else that we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
So we've like had your kind of experience with like your online group, which you found like purely on forums, and I heard some anecdotes that I haven't heard before from that. I
haven't told you everything about my life, Daniel.
I know, and in fact it was 6 months, and it's still like. I'm sure you still have some anecdotes which you could pull out if you needed to.
Yeah.
We talked about my play-by-post. We talked a bit about the Roll20 experience. I'm sure there was like a third thing that I wanted to say, but okay. So how about just like your experience with watching people play Dungeons and Dragons Pathfinder on the internet? Because I know that I think we both watched some of Spoonie's games, and I know that you also kind of watched a lot of Lord Cat as well, didn't you? Not only did you watch his live stream, but you also watched his D&D games.
Though those were live streamed.
Yes.
Hell, he live streamed masturbating once.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You saw him masturbating?
He live streamed it.
Awkward.
He was on one of those bouncy chairs, the balls.
He was a large gentleman.
Very large. Yeah. Luckily, he had his shirt on. He just used it to clean up with. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, didn't. So yeah,
Well, I'll talk about the last game I watched online because I've sent it to you, and I know you haven't watched it.
I've watched the first one or two episodes.
Temple of the Lava Bears by Loading Ready Run Studios people. They're Canadians and they're funny, and I like them. Basically, that was the most professional D&D that I've seen done. It was a homebrew module for D&D 5th, and yeah, it was a nicely run game. I mean, they didn't take the role playing as seriously as I would have liked, but that's just sort of my level of playing. They had an interesting thing because it's a big comedy troupe, so they rotated out a player each game. Well, they cut each game into multiple episodes, but each game, if that makes sense. Yeah, and I really enjoy watching D&D games. In fact, what I did with the Skype game I did with the Americans, that was uploaded on my old site.
Was it?
Yeah.
I remember that we uploaded a few of our ones, but I don't remember ever.
No, I uploaded that one.
Oh, okay.
You can see how many views it got.
Actually, we got like a couple of hundred views with that one, didn't they?
Yeah, well, actually, my last website was a lot more popular than this one.
Yeah. Times have changed.
No, it's just Blip was a smaller community and there was less to watch.
Yeah, YouTube is very large, and that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, it's kind of sad when you get less views than the crazies, though. I saw a video of this guy who was yelling about a NASA. Like, there'd been an object spotted in space that NASA said it was just an asteroid that had moved off course. And that's probably what it was. But this guy was raving about how the government was hiding aliens, and this was proof of it. So it's just this still shot of this radar image of this asteroid that's moved out of its path, and this guy is ranting for 2.5 hours.
Fair enough.
And he gets more views than us.
Well, have you watched him?
I watched the first 5 minutes.
Okay. I think like the last D&D campaign that I watched online that I kind of really enjoyed was Spoonie's. I can't remember which campaign it was, but basically Spoonie is the DM. I think that was because it was at a time when I was kind of invested in all the players. It was Spoonie, it was Linkara, it was all of these people who I watched on a regular basis. And I kind of really enjoyed all of their humor. And I think it's a while ago since I've watched it all the way through, but it was always kind of a couple of hours. I can't remember if I ever watched it just as right, I'm going to spend the next 2.5 hours watching this, or whether it was, or I'm going to have this on in the background while I'm playing on my DS, while I'm playing on the PlayStation, while I'm doing something else. It's kind of, I'm not sure whether it's background noise, whether it's just like something which I investedly watched, because it kind of feels like D&D is something which you want to play rather than something you want to watch. But
I mean, I know of something similar that's been really popular of late. You remember Tabletop?
Yes.
The Will Wheaton board game show. Well, there was a spin-off of that called Titan's Grave, which is him running a D&D campaign, basically. It's him and 3 other people, only one of whom I know. And they're doing a campaign. It's sort of half-an-hour-long episodes, I think. Really popular. I never watched it, other than the first episode.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I know why. Basically, all of the players were playing in the way that I don't like. It was the one guy I knew who was Hank Green, who is a guy I kind of respect. He's sort of very knowledgeable. And he was like, okay, I'm going to play a sexy female cat person who, fights with a spear and is, it's like, it wasn't taken seriously. It was played like how people play D&D in movies. That's how it seemed in the first episode.
I don't like how people play D&D in the movies.
No, and I really hate the community episode of D&D.
It feels a lot like play by post.
Well, yeah. And it's just... I never got through the entirety of the second one. But the first one, first of all, they have an existing character. What player is ever allowed to bring in an old character from an old game into a new game when they're over-leveled and over-equipmented?
I was going to say, like, as long as I could view the character sheet, well, you'd be allowed to do it if the DM looks at the character sheet and okays it.
Yeah, but none of the other characters had that kind of stuff.
So, I mean, yeah, he shouldn't have been okayed if he was over-leveled and over-equipmented.
Yeah. It's like, if it was in Pathfinder, that could be fine, because, then you just go, okay, everyone is this level, and you get all this stuff.
Yeah.
This was second edition. You don't get anything beyond base with a new character. It's petty, but it annoys me. I just like to have people playing D&D where it's not made a joke. Where it's not cheap fantasy. Because frankly, D&D can be really quite epic at times. And when I say D&D, I mean role-playing in general, but D&D sounds better. Like, the last moments in the Long Hill campaign, a game that our GM had been wanting to complete for over 10 years. That game ended with my character battling a demon for eternity. It's a badass moment. We had so many epic moments in that game, and why can that never be put across to scriptwriters or whatever? Sorry.
I don't know. I wanted to kind of come up with some kind of analogy, or it's like, you want to play Lord of the Rings, you don't want to play, and then my mind just kind of blanked on kind of a silly fantasy thing.
Oh, the Eye of Isgor or whatever it's called.
Yes, you want to play... I can't remember what it was. The Eye of Arnor?
Eye of Arnor, maybe?
But yeah. I was trying to think maybe some kind of like a children's high fantasy cartoon or something, but I couldn't really think of any.
No. It's weird.
Say, children's high fantasy, Redwall is the only one that kind of comes to mind. That was still quite...
dark, but really well written.
Times, yeah. Oh, well. Anyway, I think we've been talking for plenty time. I think we've got up to around an hour and a half. I think we started around 10.
I don't know.
Well, I think I've said my piece. I think I've said all I wanted to say. I'm still going to try and possibly get into a play-by-post if I ever get the time, or try and find some people on forums. And I don't know. I am kind of quite flaky with my time, so play-by-post would be good for me, but I just much prefer an actual game. So I'm basically caught between a rock and a hard place.
I think what I might do is I'll put up a thread on the Roll20 forum. Maybe a game I've never been able to convince you guys to play. Like Traveller or Eclipse Phase.
And then record it for posterity.
No.
And views.
No.
For the YouTube channel.
No. Because I can't guarantee mic quality.
That's true.
And then I can't bug people to record on Audacity.
That's also true. Anyway,
Talk us out, Daniel.
talk us out. Do we have like a regular outro? I can't remember. Anyway, thank you all for listening. We've had a great time talking to
Each other.
each other, not to you. But we believe that you're here with us in spirit, so we'll see you again next week. Hope you've enjoyed listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.